You're listening to Talk Is Jericho.
It's actually funny. We were talking about how we're at SummerSlam here. I'm sitting here with Triple H, and right next door is like all the free SummerSlam swag.
Yeah. Anytime the boys have an opportunity to get something free, it's like a shark feeding frenzy. I was just laughing walking in this door is that there's like this feverish milling around going around this table of like free new logo WWE merch. But I swear, if you put turd logs on that table, they'd all be like, I need a turd. Is that free turd? I need a turd. Give me a turd.
I still like it. Steve still wears the XFL shirts, the Memphis Maniacs.
Hey, if it's free, we did this the panel thing. Me and Shawn just say like Shawn is the king of free. Like the only thing he had on, I think, that wasn't like a freebie from a sponsor was his pants, and I think he's trying to work on Wrangler right now.
He's like a total mountain man now. You see pictures of him, and it's hard to believe that he's like the sexy boy, you know?
Yeah, it's unbelievable the change, but I don't know. It just it's funny. It's just him now, right? He's everything he does. He's constantly got on these like rattlesnake boots. And I'm like, you're where we're in Denver. There's no rattlesnakes here. You know,
it's amazing. I mean, you talk about Shawn and all the stuff you guys have done together, and how much time you've actually been here. When did you start in the WWE?
I started in '95, but I think I got hired at the end of '94. But then, like, is that one of those things like Bischoff had a court injunction put against me where I couldn't compete for like 4 months.
Oh, really?
In the U.S. And it was really not even in my contract. But so, like, he put it against me. And at the time, J.J. Dillon was head of talent relations. And he was like, this thing's crap. We're going to fight it. And but it took him 4 months to fight it. So it was kind of, they brought me to a few events during that time. And actually was cool that they were, there was a period of time in there where I couldn't work, but they were tearing down the Boston Garden, and it's like one of those things where I had gone there my whole life,
right,
and seen wrestling there, and was such a big fan, and I called up and was like, hey JJ, they're tearing down the Boston Garden. I know I'm not supposed to work because of this court injunction, but like I'd give anything. Like I'll pay to fly myself in. I'll pay the guy to come and work with me. Like I don't care. I want to work, and they flew me in. But I don't think I started. On TV until after WrestleMania 11. Right after that, they started my vignettes.
And when you said that you left WCW, did you walk out on the contract or something, or why did Bischoff put an injunction on you?
No, it was the weirdest thing, and that's what JJ was saying. Like it doesn't work. So when I signed with them, I went down there, and I've said this in interviews before, but it's one of those things like you look back on and you go like, I can't believe I had the balls to do this, but like I went in, I had a dark match tryout. I went to 2 TV tapings. I had a dark match on the first night. Second night, they had me to have a dark match again. No one said a word to me about anything. So I went back to my hotel. The next day, I was going to fly home. I'm like, man, I guess they weren't interested. Everybody was telling me you got a job, great, And then I thought,
this is with WWE.
No, WCW.
Oh, WCW, gotcha.
Yeah, when I went there. So right as I'm leaving, I'm about to walk out my door, like literally the door's closing, my hotel room. The phone rings, I run over, and it's Bischoff, and he says, give you this 2-year deal. But it was like $50,000 for the year, which sounds great, but it's like all in.
Yes.
Right? And they were working a lot then, so I'm like, geez, with road and
to pay all your expenses.
Man, everything and all that stuff, like, holy cow. Like in my mind, I'm like quickly doing the math, thinking, geez, I'm going to starve to death. Like 2 years, that's a long time. So I said, he goes, I balked at it, and he was like, you balking at that? And I said, well, just financially seems tight. I said, and he goes, well, I'm not giving you any more money. And I said, no, that's not what I'm saying at all. Clearly you don't know me and don't know if I'm worth it. So how about this? How about we sign 1 year? And you got 12 months. And either you're going to know I'm not worth $50,000 in a year, or you're going to know I'm worth a lot more than $50,000 at the end of a year. Mm-hmm. So, and he was like, nah, that's stupid, but if that's what you want to do, okay. So I was like, all right. But it worked out great because at the end of the year, my contract was up. I spoke to him a little bit. They were putting Regal and I together as a tag team at that time, the Blue Bloods, and they just made plans. Like I had gone with Sherry Martel, and she was getting all these ball gowns made, and we were going to take her. She was going to screw Harlem Heat. They were going to put tag titles on us. We were going to do all this stuff, and then they were bringing the Steiners in. I don't know how I felt about that because I was like, well, I'm the low guy in totem pole. They're going to be chucking me all over.
Yeah, you're the ones getting suplexed all across.
So, but they really weren't like making it worth anything to stay, and it was so messed up there, as you know later. You know, Hogan and Flair, there was just these factions, and everything was a mess, and there was no organization. And even when I left, like, they were agents, but they didn't do anything with you, like, you know, just
nothing.
No, like Gagne would come and say, like, you go over, and then he'd just like go back to playing cards.
Yeah.
So there's no structural organization, and I met with Vince. So Terry Taylor put out word. This is one of those things, interesting work with. Terry Taylor put out word through the dirt sheets. He called Wade Keller or somebody like that and said, hey, you know, his contract's up. He's been talking to Vince. So it kind of opened the door for me to come in and speak with JJ. And I called actually Pat. Pat put a word in with JJ because I'd met Pat a year before. And
JJ was head of talent relations at the time.
Yep. Yeah. So I came up, had a quick meeting with Vince, and he didn't seem like Vince clearly didn't know who I was and was not enamored. And well, good luck, you know. And I left, and I was like, all right. But I went and worked a pay-per-view with. His name's right on the tip of my tongue.
In WCW?
Yeah.
Alex Wright?
Alex Wright, yeah. I kept thinking Alex Riley and that in it. Alex Wright.
Wrong Alex.
Das Wunderkind.
Yeah.
And so we worked at Starrcade. It was my first pay-per-view ever. We worked at Starrcade, and I think that was in Nashville, and we went to Chicago. And when I got to Chicago, they told me, hey, your mom's been calling here, because there was no cell phones or pagers or anything, right? And so I called home thinking something was wrong. She goes, hey, J.J. Dillon's been calling the house all day. So I called. Vince was in Boca on vacation because it was right before Christmas, and he called, made me an offer to come up, and I was like,
that's it, right?
Done. Yeah.
I think I would assume that you were like me. Like, you grew up in the Boston area. I grew up in Winnipeg, and all I wanted to do was work for WWF. Like WWF.
Yeah, that was the thing to me.
Care about anything else?
No, but you know, I grew up lucky in that I had you know, like some guys just had the one whatever was local to them. Like I had WWF, but I also got TBS, so I had all the NWA stuff, and I also had all the Von Erich stuff out of Texas. So I got a lot of wrestling. On a Saturday morning in my house, I was on the couch till like 1 in the afternoon or 2 in the afternoon. It was from 8 a.m. through. It was one product after another of wrestling, you know. But WWF was what I went and saw. You know, that's what was local to me. So those are the guys I saw. Those are the guys. So to me, the be all end all was coming here, and when I had the opportunity to come here, it really wasn't a whole lot of question.
Yeah, I went to WCW for the sole purpose of hopefully I'd get seen by somebody here.
Yeah, when to be honest, when I had just done a show. You remember Ron Reese?
Yeah, big giant.
Right?
Hey, dude. Hey, dude. We used to call him T-Rex because he had short arms.
Little stubby arms, right? So, still the funniest scene ever in wrestling is him and giant double-ending Hogan, right?
Sodomizing Hogan.
It's either the funniest or most erotic, depending on your point of view.
Which is basically wrestling as a whole.
Sort of, yeah. So, just as Harn. But so Pat had come to a show. Ron Reese was brought in and trained by Kowalski. By Big John Studd. Studd was looking for a way to come back in. So before he got sick and passed away, he was looking for a way to get back in the business, and he wanted to bring Reese in as they were going to put masks on and come in as these giants, right? And so he brought Reese in to be trained by Kowalski 6 months later or whatever as a favor to Studd. Pat came to a show to see Ron Reese wrestle. When we got done, Pat pulled me aside. I was just wrestling for Kowalski and local guys doing the independents all over wherever I could get work, right? Just like we all did. And Pat pulled me aside and was like, how long you been working? You know, get another 6 months under your belt or so, and let's talk again. And so that made me realize, like, maybe, like, I was petrified of the WWF. Like, I was like, oh my God, I could never go there. No TV experience.
Yeah.
So I started feverishly trying to get anywhere that I could. That was my like, okay, green light. Pat thinks there's something there. Maybe it's time for me to start to look to branch out to bigger stuff, like someplace with TV, because they were thinning out a lot. Perry Saturn had gone to Memphis. I had talked to Perry a bunch and was ready to go down there potentially. Had an offer to go down there, but Perry was like, "We're all starving to death, dude. Like, you gotta, you know." He's like, "You can get a job and all that, but we're starving to death. We're driving everywhere, and you know, you got to try to, like, if you're going to come in, we'll try to hook you up with somebody so you can at least have a roommate and like try to
save some money.
Yeah, you got to try to pare it down. But while I was trying to get every place else, the WCW thing opened up, and exactly what you said to me, I was like, oh, that's perfect. I can go there and I can learn how to do TV, like learn how to work the cameras and learn, because I didn't know any of that. I'd never done an interview before, other than like, the guy at the newspaper, or you know what I mean? Yeah. Like never done like TV show stuff. And that's a whole different art form, So going there, I would sit around because they didn't teach it, like
never.
WCW.
No.
So I would just go around and I would just sit next to whoever was doing anything. You know what I mean? I would sit, and if Flair was doing promos or Vader, whoever, I would sit and I would watch for where are the cameras, like how are they, like what are they trying to face and what are they doing? And man, I'd go, even when I wasn't working at TV tapings, that all the nasty boys, everybody used to make fun of me. You're not working, what are you, an idiot? You know what I mean? I'd just sit and I'd be in the locker room just glued to the monitor because I wanted to like figure out like, all right, so now that I've been inside center stage and I know where the cameras are, and I'm now trying to figure out like, okay, so Steamboat's doing this that way because he's trying to face that big camera on the long stick. I didn't know it was called a jib. That's how you try. For me, that's how I try to learn the TV on my own. And obviously, when you get up here, a whole different ball game.
Do you remember they used to call it the box? Did you ever have to go in there to cut the local promos? Like, Peoria, we're coming to.
So I never had to do that for WCW. Here. Oh my God! Like here, that
was like boot camp, like interview boot camp.
Absolutely. So when I got here, that's where I really learned it, because now we'd get done doing Superstars or Wrestling Challenge or whatever those shows were, where you'd worked 4 or 5 times, just enhancement matches. That's where I worked with the Hardys for the first time. They were like 17. They came in here as extras and stuff, and so working on those, and then you'd get downstairs, and then it was like a totem pole of pecking order of who went in the booth downstairs in the little sound room to do their market specific promo. So at like 4 a.m, you'd be down there after sitting and waiting for 3 hours, and Lanza would be in the booth with you, and you're, I'm coming,
smoking.
I'm coming to you,
You're coming Rochester, Minnesota. I'm going to take you on Savio Vega.
Duke the dumpster when I get there, and you're trying to learn how to do them, and that's how you,
But that was a good way to learn, though. I cut my teeth with that.
Absolutely, and it's all reps, and you start to learn when a guy like Lanza starts going, that's good, that one was good, man, do another, okay, do the next time, okay, that was great, you try to make them different, and you try to learn, and it's reps. For a lot of this stuff, it's reps, and then somebody telling you the how and the why, and then you start to pick it up on your own. But it's just doing it.
I remember. Did you guys do them with an interview or just by yourself?
Sometimes either or.
Because we said it was either Mean Gene or Lee Marshall, and those guys were masters of the craft. Yeah. So even if you started to stumble and bumble, they could help you through it.
Yeah.
What you're trying to say, Chris, is yes. That's what I'm trying to say.
My first live television interview ever was with Soli.
Oh, wow.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they tell me hey, you got an interview, and I'm like, oh, and it's like live, and so I'm like, oh, I'm freaking out, and then they go, it's with Soli, and I'm like, holy crap.
Most famous ring announcer or commentator ever,
yeah. And then I get there and he's hammered.
Oh, wow.
Right? And he's hammered, and he's like they're counting us in, and he's like, I'm asking you again, kid. Like, he's,
what's your name?
Completely I'm out of my mind. I have no idea what to say. And this is when they just started me with the French character, so I'm trying to do this French accent. It's they're just miserable. And right as they're counting me in 15 seconds, Mike Graham comes up behind me and he goes, listen, if he starts to teeter over during the interview, clothesline him and get some heat. and they're like, 2, 1. I'm like a deer in the headlights.
Yeah, because you had a couple of interesting gimmicks in WCW. There was the French guy. Yeah. Is that just because of your last name is Levesque?
Yeah, so I one day, first up, they bring me in, the terrorizing thing.
Yeah. So, what's that all about?
Yeah, so Kowalski came to me one day and was like, he's always had these gimmick tours that we were going to do that never panned out, right? It was, I need you, do you have a passport? I'm like, no, it's 3 months I just got here, I'm just training, right? And he's like, we are going to South America and you need a passport. Come to Boston tomorrow, I'm going to take you to the passport office and you're going to get I have a friend, he will get you a passport. And then so he does the thing, and so I'm like, I'm going to go to South America. And he's like, so now, the next day he comes to me and he's like, we need to give you a name. because I need to put it on the posters. And so I go and I'm wrestling, and then at the end of the class he comes and he's got a pizza lid and he writes on it Terrorizer. And I'm like, he goes, "You are the Terrorizer." And I'm like, oh my God. It's like, he had guys that wrestled there like Jed Scream, a guy that just ran to the ring. I was like, ah, like, right. And so everything was his Ogie gimmicks and the Terrorizer. And I'm like, wow. And he's like, you don't like that? And I'm like, well, can I just have a name? Like a name? And it's just a name. And I'm no, it's like it's just a one word thing, but it's not really a name and stuff. I like a first name and a last name. And he took a black Sharpie magic marker and drew the line between the words Terrorizer. It was Terrorizer, between the words Terror and Riser. And there. Now it is a name, Terrorizer, right? And that was a name. And then it got screwed up on the thing.
Of course.
That tour didn't pan out, but then like shortly thereafter I had my first match, and of course on the thing it said Terrorizing, and then it just became my name.
That's my name.
And so when I got there and they hired me, they were like, "This is like the worst name ever. We're gonna repackage you. Don't worry. We're gonna repackage you, give you a character, the whole thing." And I'm like, "Oh, great." I go home, like literally I go home back to New Hampshire. So I got the job, like I'm all excited. I go home and I was at my girlfriend's house when I'd taken the dog outside, and all of a sudden she comes running out and she goes, "Oh my God, you're on TV next." What? These are my dark matches.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I'm like they told me, "Oh, it'll be 3 months before we debut you on TV. We're going to give you a new package, the whole thing, all this gimmick." I run back in the house, and sure enough, here I come out against like Keith Cole or whoever it is, and I'm like at the Terrorizing, and I'm like, oh my God, freaking out. So I wait on Monday. I call the office, and they're like, "This was the worst explanation I'd ever heard." They said, I said, "Guy, you guys were going to repackage me and do all this stuff, and now you put me on TV with that thing. Like, I don't understand. Like, are we not doing that?" No, we're still going to do that. And I said, "But now you've put me on TV as something else. Like, I don't understand." They go, "Oh, don't worry about it. No one watches those shows anyways."
Good excuse, right? But classic WCW, though.
Absolutely.
Very much like
and then they called me, and that's a long-winded story I was getting to was, one day, finally, I'd been there forever, and finally they called me up and they want me to go to CNN to do these promos. And Flair had taken over the booking, and Flair brings me in a room and he goes, "No, we love your last name. We're going to give you a new gimmick and all that. You're going to be John Paul Levesque from France." And he's like, "Now go in the other room and cut promos on Alex Wright in French." And I'm like, I don't speak French. Like, I don't know any French words at all, even. Like, I'm not even remotely do I speak French at all. And I'm like, first up, it's a very common name where I'm from. It's like Smith. It's not very original, and like, well, we all like it, and you're a French guy, so go in the other room. And so I go in the other room and cut like these Jack Clouseau impersonation promos. They're like brutal, like just absolutely brutal.
I'm in the room.
Yeah,
the
dog doesn't bite. And then I come out and Rick's there, and I go, "Excuse me, Mr. Flack. So what is the character and stuff?" He goes, "That's up to you to figure out."
Yeah,
I don't know. He just gave you the name change. So that's when I came out. I did the riding boots and I try to think of what's a French guy? What's a French guy in the worst possible heat? Driven French thing I could do to make somebody hate me. I put a ribbon in my hair. I had thigh-high riding boots on, and Regal saw I get a leather jacket with a big jabot on the front, and then Regal saw it, was like, "That's great," And then somehow we ended up, they tagged us together once on TV, and it worked real good, and they were going to run with it, And then I came here.
And then when you came here, it was the Hunter Hearst Helmsley. What was because everybody that I've talked to that came in here, from Goldust to Farouk, what was the story on the Hunter Hearst Helmsley character? How was it pitched to you, and what was it?
So Vince liked what I was doing and the character, but he wanted me to be American, not like he was like, clearly you don't speak French,
right?
Clearly, like Vince thinks long term, right? She was like, if we ever turn you babyface, I want to make a French babyface. So like you're American, you're an American aristocrat, you're a blue blood. You'll be from Greenwich, Connecticut. Like, and he said to my neighbors, I hate them. Right? You'll be one of them, and you'll be this aristocratic snob. And he put it all over. And then I didn't know what the name was at first. And then it's funny, they brought me to Columbus to TV just so I could meet everybody and get to know all the guys a little bit and meet with the seamstresses and stuff. And they showed me some drawings of what they thought the gear would look like and all that. But J.J. Dillon pulled me aside, and they had asked me to think of a bunch of names to give some input on it. And I had a whole bunch of names of mine. I tried to make cool, and then J.J. called me in the room and said, "We got your name. You're going to be Reginald DuPont Helmsley." And I was like, holy cow, like here I am in the bad name category again. Like I'm like, Reginald DuPont Helmsley. And he's like, yes, like the Helmsleys, the DuPont heirs and all that stuff. And I'm like, holy shit. And then he was like, well, did you have some stuff? And I had like a notebook pad with all these names on it. And I said, I was trying to come up. I had been trying to come up with something that was like that you could make initials out of, right? And so I showed him a bunch of different ones, and I don't remember what they were, but it's just a bunch of different ones that all like certain initial plays and stuff like that. And
like you mean like an MVP or something?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I spelled something out, right? And then so he said, "Oh, let me take these and get them back to creative." And then the next thing I heard, they called me up. JJ called me up and said, "Hey, we went with a little bit of your suggestion. You're going to be Hunter Hearst Helmsley, 3 H's." And I was like, okay, that's, like I can work with that a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And so that's where we went. And then Shawn started calling me Triple H day one.
Really?
Yeah. I think it was an Arn thing. Like he just, what's your gimmick again? Hunter Hearst Helmsley. Holy crap.
That's a mouthful.
Triple H. And then he just walked off, that I with him was Triple H. And then just, when we switched kind of out of the gimmicks to being a little bit more real, Vince asked me at that time, he's like, you want to just use your real name? And I was like, really? Like, I've got some time with this Hunter Hearst Helmsley thing, like the Hunter and all that stuff. And Shawn came in and was like, just call him Triple H, what I call him. And Vince fought it for like a year. And then one day was like, we're going to start calling him Triple H. Like it was his idea.
Eureka, of course.
I have it.
Which is funny because now obviously it's an iconic name, but at the time I think I was just started with Triple H, and it was a little bit weird, like Triple H, like that's kind of weird.
Yeah,
what I mean?
It is.
Yeah,
and it was a nickname thing, and at first, especially when they would say it, it was like it's like forcing a nickname,
right?
Is what it felt like, But then it just
and
it just becomes your name, right? No different than any name. I always laugh at that, like no matter how
or any band
weird,
name,
band name.
Right.
No matter the first time you hear it, like that's weird, and then later that's just who they are.
That's exactly right. Yeah, for sure. I'm here with Triple H. We're going to get into the Kliq and the influence they had or didn't have in the WWE. We'll also talk about his working relationship with Vince McMahon and how Triple H got so entrenched in the business side of WWE. All that with Triple H.
Talk is Jericho.
All right, Triple H is sitting right across from me here on Talk is Jericho. So let's talk about your first days at WWE. Yeah. Did you notice a big difference when you came from WCW to WWE?
Absolutely.
Amazing, right?
Yeah, it was like it's like coming out of like the Shriners Circus and going to Barnum and Bailey or something. It really was. There was just no rhyme or reason or organization. I remember like when I had my dark match at Center Stage Theater, like no one told me how to get to the ring. Like they're like, you're dark match with Keith Cole, like and they did the setup and whatever, 5 minutes you go over. Right. Well, first they tell me he'll go over, and I was like, okay,
yeah.
So, and then they called me and it was like Bischoff was like, I was just testing you. Like testing me, okay, whatever. But so he's like, you go over, and then that's all they said. And then like it was like I could see like my match is coming up, and I had to go ask. I think I asked like Mick or somebody. Like there was a few guys that kind of talked to me. Arn talked to me day one. Matter of fact, I became close with Arn. I started riding with Arn like almost immediately after that. Austin talked to me, Mick Foley, and Regal, and Harley.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Not too many of the guys. Yeah. Other guys talked to me. Harley, it was funny. Harley came up to me. So at Center Stage, it was the two rooms, like the jabroni locker room, like the extras, and then like the top guy room. So I just got there so early that they stuck my bag in the top guy locker room. So now all these guys come in. I'm like sitting in there, and they're all looking at me. I don't know the difference though, but I'm like, fucking, this is a rough place, man. Everybody's looking to kill me, and I'm just respectful. I'm not saying anything unless spoken to. Stand up, look everybody in the eye, shake their hand. Nice to meet you. And Harley walks up to me. You know how Harley is with a cigarette, right? And he walks up to me, and he's standing there looking at me, and I'm, hello, Mr. Race. I introduce myself. He's, how you doing? He smokes his cigarette. He's taking the time. And he's like, you were trained by Kowalski? Yes, sir, I was. Thinks about it, shaking his head, takes a big drag of cigarette. He was nothing. And he walks away, and I'm like, how do I take that? Like, I don't know. Does that mean I am? Like, I don't know, right? And then I had the dark match, and when I came back, first guy I ran into was Arn. And Arn just walked by me and said, "Got yourself a job, kid. Congratulations." And just kept going. I was like, well, that sounds promising. Like, I was, excited. I saw Mick, and then Austin came to me. He's like, "Let me give you a piece of advice, kid." And he like told me something, and Regal mentioned something, and then Harley at the end of the night, like at the end of the show was getting done. I stayed to the very end. Everybody was cleaned out, leaving, and Harley looked at me and he was like, I was still watching the monitor, and he said, "Where are you staying?" And I didn't know any different. I was at the Marriott, right? Like, Nation right out the get-go. And he just said, "How you getting there?" And I said, "I guess I'll just take a cab back." He said, "Ride with me." And Vader was like, and started screaming, and Leon, and Harley yelled, "Shut up, you fat," or whatever, and then said, "Come with us." And he gave me a ride back, and so he was really nice to me. Arn was great, and it was kind of a nice fit in, but there was just I didn't know where the ring was the first day. Direction. I didn't know anything. Yeah, there was
we didn't even know who the boss was. Like, okay, Bischoff's the boss, but he wasn't the boss.
No, when I got there that day, Dusty answered the door. I banged on the back of the stage door at the Center Stage Theater from my tryout. Now, Bischoff had set it up. I get there, Dusty answers the door. "Who are you?" I tell him who I am, and then I'm there for a tryout, and he goes, "Who told you to come here for a tryout?" I said, "Eric Bischoff." "Huh. All right, well, it's not your fault. Come on in." So I go in. What I didn't know was that Dusty was booking. Bischoff was trying to get the book.
Oh, gotcha.
And they were in the middle of the switch. Right after that, Dusty was gone. Bischoff kind of came in, and then Flair took over booking for Bischoff. Bischoff was the boss, but Flair started booking. It was this really weird dynamic. Shortly thereafter, Hogan started, and all this crazy stuff going on, but there was no direction to anything. It was just you just kind of showed. It really was like working the indie shots for everybody else, but just with some TV cameras,
right,
and big names, and but here, man, there was a structure and an order, and everybody knew what you were doing. And when you come back, Chief would pull you aside and do this, do that. Like, there was a lot of, and you got a lot of advice from the talent, and just a lot of different things. So, like, people, as much as they want to see you do good, not too good, right? It was still the same deal, but yet it was just a whole nother realm of professional.
Yeah, and you knew who was in charge.
Yeah.
I remember even and nothing against Eric, but he would walk around with his hat on backwards, leather jacket, sweatpants. He came here, Vince, immaculate suit, every day, knows the names of everybody. Hello, George, the lighting guy. Hello, Janet.
And if he doesn't, hey, pal.
Yeah, hey, pal. Yeah, but he acknowledges. And that was a big difference you see right off the bat.
Absolutely.
Just the way it was structured.
And I think that's part of how, because it's led from the top
That's
down.
right, yeah.
So everybody's that way here. Like, there's no... there's the same stuff there is in any locker room or any other environment, but, like, that respect level and that thanks to everybody that...
Right.
Is here, whether it's the rigging guy or the cameraman or somebody else. Like, everybody appreciates it. Absolutely.
Absolutely. So let's talk about the Kliq. And I mean, obviously, you talked about how Shawn called you Triple H right away. Did they kind of, because he was in charge, not in charge. He was the top guy. He was the champ, right?
So right then, I came in at 11 is when he and Kev did the match. So Diesel was champion. They had just done the match where Pam Anderson was with him at WrestleMania and all that stuff. So it was kind of that transitional, but clearly
Shawn
top
was
guys.
the top guy.
Brett was a top guy.
Taker, of course.
Obviously Taker, Kev, Scott. I was friends with Terry Taylor, who knew Shawn. So when I was going to come up, Terry called Shawn and just said, "Hey, this kid's going to come up. He's a good kid. Help him out, right?" And but what I didn't know was that, and they told me this after, is so Scott, and just like we all do, we'd all watch WCW, or I'm sure they watched WWF, and you make fun of the gimmicks and you make fun of the workers and all that stuff. Well, Terrorizing was like their right,
their go-to.
Yeah, but I also knew, I also found out later that they had gone to Vince a couple of times. Were like, "You should look at bringing that kid in here. He's going to be pretty good, right?" Like they kind of saw something in me. So when I came in, like. Scott was Scott, but it was also, he would be Scott, but he would pull me aside. And, just those first couple of weeks when I was trying to find my way, but they were really friendly to me. And then, Shawn tells a story in his belief, but trust me, his memory of that period of time is very sketchy.
Not good, yeah.
The first time I rode with him, I just happened to be at the Boston airport. We were going up to Portland. I just got in, and it had been one of those things where I had tried to ride with a few different guys, like Man Mountain Rock or like a few guys, and there was misery, right? Like I'm like, I just can't do it. These guys, they don't want to talk about the business. They're like miserable.
Not really working out much.
Yeah, yeah. And so I just happened to be at the airport, and I was going to make the loop by myself. And Kevin, I'm waiting in the car line, and Kevin pulls up in a big white van, and he like sees me, and he like waves me out, so I lose my place in line. I go out there, and he's like, "What are you doing?" I said, "Get in the car." "Who are you with?" "I'm gonna go by myself." He's like, "Jump in with us." And told the story of the panel the other night. So we used to get these white vans, call them hose wagons, because we thought it was funny, right? But so I get in there now, like Scott gets in there, Shawn gets in, and kids, one loop where everybody's on the same loop. My first loop, we drive up to Portland, we do the show. After the show, we go to Denny's, and let's just say, long story short, we carry Kid out. Shawn barely can carry him with me. Kevin drags Scott out because we're trying to get out there before the cops come.
Wow.
And we're trying to avoid the rush of the guys that are coming out with us. I'm slapping the crap out of Kid in the parking lot because I can't feel his heartbeat.
Wow.
And we all end up in the emergency room.
Really?
This is
your first night?
This is my first night. We get back to the hotel at like 6. I lay down and I'm like, oh my God, like what just happened? And like I have to be up in like an hour for us to drive. I forget where we were driving, to Worcester or something. And Kevin and I we're gonna train at 7 or 3. Like got up, and this would be the pattern. Like we get up, we went and trained, we got in the car, and I tried to stay awake. Either he was driving or I was driving. We tried to stay awake next to each other while everybody else was passed out.
Because you don't drink and never did really anything. Yeah.
No, and Kev he would do it occasionally, but Kev was much more of the. Like if I would say to Kev, like, hey, we're going to go out tonight, but I want to train. You want to train in the morning? Like, yeah, I want to train. Like, I'm not going to drink.
Right.
So we'd still go out, and we'd still go to clubs, and we'd still be out all night, and then get 2 hours sleep. But we'd get up and train, and those guys would lay around. Scott would come in and do 2 push-ups and 2 dips and look like a freak. And then
he was just like a spider. He'd be all like crumpled up, and then just be like...
He would blow up. I tell you, my first exposure to Scott Hall, I met him in the back, I was saying, at Columbus. And he walks up to me. I was with Road Dogg because I knew Dog from WCW. We had worked together a little bit. Like he had come in the exact same time I did, but he was like an extra, and so we had worked a couple of times. And then he came up here as Jeff's roadie,
the Road Dogg, right,
yeah. And so he was still here before he got fired, and so he was kind of walking me around, meeting everybody. And Scott comes over to say hello, and I meet him, and he's like, "Hey, I'm Scott," and like how he is, right? And then as he goes, he's just, "Hey, remember one thing, tuck your chin," for his finish, right? And I laugh, and he walks away. But in my mind, I'm thinking like, "Oh my God, that little wormy, like old shuffly guy is Scott Hall." Like that, it blew my mind. 2 hours later, the show starts, and like he's on at the beginning of the show, and now I see him. He's got the vest and the chains. He looks like he's grown 3 feet.
Yeah.
He's done a couple of push-ups. He's like his body is doubled in size, and he comes strutting down the hallway like he looks like this Adonis. And I'm like, what are they, like 2 of them? Because it didn't jive. I was like, holy cow! Right. And I would see him make that transformation every night. It was unbelievable.
How much influence? We always heard rumors back in the day. How much influence did the Kliq have on the company? Because I kind of took it that you were there, but it was Shawn and it was Kevin, those guys. They're kind of running the show in a lot of ways.
I think a lot of that was. I think everybody had Vince's ear, right? Vince was listening to a lot of people, and I think, though, everybody took it like that group had this power and they crapped on everybody. Most of the guys that had a problem with, I was in the room, even when I wasn't saying a word because I was the new guy, and Vince would be asking them stuff, and I would listen to him put Bam Bam Bigelow over. Now, personally, did they all get along? No, but they would be like,
from a business standpoint.
Yeah, there's a moment in time, and everybody talks about this meeting that took place in Indianapolis, where Kevin and Scott were really upset about something, and I don't remember, it was creative direction of something, and Scott was ready to I can't take it, I'm quitting again, and but it was blown up, and Vince clearly, and I don't even remember what it was about, but Vince clearly felt like they had a point. to the point where he got Jerry Briscoe, and they flew out to Indianapolis. And he said, you guys stay there. We're going to fly to Indianapolis. We're going to get a room. We're going to sit down in a room, and we're going to go through all of this. Like what I remember what them saying is, clearly the company needs a change of direction and momentum, and I want opinions. So I went. It was like a La Quinta, right? Mm-hmm. I went just to say hello to Vince and to Jerry, and was going to leave because I was like, this isn't my. I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm kind of new. Isn't it my level to be sitting with Vince,
right,
talking all this stuff? Even though I did have a relationship with him, like he would talk to me a lot, like after my matches and things. And so I walked to the door. Those guys walked in. I said, hey, to Vince, and I said hello to Jerry. And I said, all right, I'm going to leave. And as I started to go out the door, Vince said, where are you going? And I said, this is not my place. I'm going to go and then we'll head over to the building. And Vince was like, oh, no, you're in it now. Get in here.
Wow.
And so I sat down, and it's a meeting where Vince took rosters out and said, if it was your team, all of you individually, make your own. I don't want anybody looking at anybody else's paper. Wow. It's like being in school. What would your team be? And what do you think is wrong with the product? Not saying we're going to do it. I just want to know what everybody thinks.
Huh.
And it's one of those things that I distinctly remember, like Bam Bam was a guy that was like, those guys got to go, and like he was like a big negative to it, and every single person in that room had Bam Bam as a player.
On their team, yeah.
And like, listen, whether we get along with him personally or not, man, he can go, and he's a top guy, and he should be here, and he should be on the team. Like, and it was like, so it was all business. But that's in my mind the first spark to me, and I'm not saying we laid claim to any of it, but the first spark of the Attitude Era that I ever saw was in that room, because the conversation was a lot based on reality. Mm-hmm. Why do we have Doink the Clown? Mm-hmm. Like, why can't basketball players just wear basketball uniforms and go to the ring go to the court and play basketball? And Michael Jordan's the most famous guy on the planet. He's just this unbelievable basketball player. Why can't we just be wrestlers? Why do we have to be firemen or cops,
right,
or doctors? Why can't it just be more real and make it more real? Let's stop insulting the intelligence, get rid of the camp. And Vince was really into the conversation. That's the first time I had ever heard it audibly like laid out that way, and I kind of feel like that was Vince going like, we need to get away from all that stuff. Like, the kids aren't into it. It's too campy. I remember somebody bringing up Kiss in that meeting and saying that Kiss was the hottest thing in the world.
Wow, yeah.
And then the kids, like, they went too kiddie, and they did a cartoon. They did all this stuff for kids, and then once the 6-year-olds started digging it, all the teenagers were like, I'm not watching that. I'm not listening to that anymore. Like, I can't. My 6-year-old brother does that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't cool to them anymore. And they went from the hottest band in the world to
a parody.
To a parody.
Yeah.
And we're at that parody point with the business, right? And that was the first, I didn't know that at the time, right? Obviously, I don't want to the business just changed. He just left the room and that was interesting, right? Or whatever. But like, looking back on it, for me, was the first mention I'd heard of like changing it and letting guys be, kick ass and tough. And, when you watch the business with a group of people that don't know what it is, they should all be like, wow, that was amazing. No, look at the goofy guy in the clown suit. You know what I mean?
Like the dumpster guy. Yeah. I mean, and that's one thing about Vince. People say, Vince is a genius, and he really is when it comes to this business. And it never has a problem with changing things. I mean, as now, changing things completely. Like, this whole show sucks. I want to change it now, or whatever it may be.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if it's 5 minutes before the show.
Right. This isn't right. I don't feel this.
Yeah, this is all wrong, and we're going a different direction. And sometimes right, sometimes wrong. And he'll say that it's his decision to make the final decision. It's his responsibility to make the final decision. Sometimes he's right, sometimes he's wrong, but he's got a pretty good track record.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And he'll say that. Hard to argue with that.
That's right.
But the genius. One of the genius things I found about him, working so closely with him over the years, is his ability to hear all these other opinions. And then wait a little bit, make you think it's his.
Yeah, exactly. It's always a better idea when he thought of it.
It's a better idea when he thought of it. But to be open to all those things and surround yourself. He said this to me a million times. You surround yourself with people smarter than you, and then you pick their brains, and then you make the decision because it's your decision to make. But the president doesn't have to be the smartest guy in the room. he's just got to have a bunch of smart people in there, and then they all give him feedback and ideas and all these things, and then you have to make the common sense decision of which one is the best, because they're probably all pretty good.
Yeah.
But so which one do you want to go? And that's where the saying comes up, chocolate or vanilla, right? Yeah. All four of these ideas are phenomenal. Chocolate, vanilla, strawberry, coffee. I like them all. Today we're going with chocolate.
Yeah. That's a great point. That's a great point. You know, and the thing is, too, I think that Vince, he's an intimidating guy when you first meet him. But once you can gain his trust, like, he appreciates your input. Yep. Because there's a lot of yes men around. Absolutely. And you can't be that, you know.
And even to the point of, like, Vince is very confrontational, and so like if you argue with him too much, he'll start to get in a stance just because it's an argument, and then it's best just walk away and let him digest it and let him think about it, and then he'll reasonably come back. Oh, tell me about that one more time. What were you thinking on that? You know?
Yeah.
It's just this wide open thing, and to that point, like he respects that fight and that argument and that it's one of the things I think, like you look at all the things that Shawn did, and there's a million times we walked out of the room, and especially in the beginning of DX and all that, I would think like, how does he not fire him? He's so disrespectful and all these things, it's unbelievable. But I think there was a certain level of respect for Shawn, that Shawn had a passionate belief and was not backing down from it. And even though they went toe to toe, he would be like, God, I like that little, that little pit bull bastard is like, I dig that in some way, and that's a cool thing. But to your point, he has so many guys around him that are, if Vince is nodding his head, they're nodding their head. If he's shaking it, they're shaking it. Yeah. Whatever you think, Vince,
The little dog. Okay, Vince. That's good, Vince.
Whatever you think.
Sitting here at SummerSlam with Triple H, and we got to stop it here today. We'll pick it up again on Friday. We're going to talk about the Monday Night Wars, his feud with The Rock, the classic matches he had with me, Y2J, the Performance Center, NXT, Bray Wyatt, so much more to talk about on Friday. You do not want to miss this.
The Jericho Network on Westwood One.
Hey, Jerichoholics, it's part 2 of my conversation with Triple H today. The biggest guest ever on Talk Is Jericho. Thank you so much for downloading and hanging out. Today with Triple H, we're going to talk about the Monday Night Wars, his classic feud with The Rock, the quad injury that almost ended his career, the personal heat between he and I that led to a lot of amazing matches, and of course, we'll find out how he found himself in the position to take over running the WWE from Vince McMahon someday. So much more for Triple H. If you like the first part, you are not going to want to miss today's show.
Talk Is Jericho.
All right, sitting here with Triple H backstage at SummerSlam in the Staples Center. Let's talk about the Monday Night Wars. I mean, how big of a blow was it when Scott and Kevin left and when Hogan showed up and the whole NWO thing started?
It's funny. We didn't realize it at the time. It was like those guys were leaving. We did the curtain call thing. It was like buddy system.
Yeah, Madison Square Garden, all four of you came to the ring, heels and baby faces together, saying goodbye.
And Vince knew about it. It became bigger than it was when we got out there, and Vince knew about it. And when we came back, he even asked Shawn, like, that means something to you? And Shawn said, yeah. And he said, then I'm okay with it. And then everybody came down on him, and then it came down on me. But
you took the heat for it, right?
Yeah. But it was just what was going on. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was like, those guys went there, and like, Luger jumped ship middle of the night. All of a sudden, like, I was with like me, Kevin, Luger were in the pool one day at the hotel. And, like, the next day, Luger was on TV. I was like,
yeah, he's in WCW.
I thought I saw him this morning. Kevin's like, no, that was yesterday. I'm like, holy cow! Like, you know what I mean? It was like all this crazy stuff going on, and then our product was changing, and we knew somewhere inside you knew, like, holy cow, these guys, this is a good show, but it was competitive of like, then we're going to put on a better show. And I don't know, as much as you thought about it, like, there was no choice. It just, once you made that decision of like, listen, if we don't step this up, we're going to go out of business. So like, and then we never thought about it again. It was just go. And then it became very territorial.
Oh, yeah.
And very like, even like when you came in, it was because you were in the trenches, and it was a war, and it as much as we would watch the show and all that stuff, and if we'd see guys in the airport, it was like, oh yeah, this is the boys, like, and hey, yeah, and all that stuff, and Kevin and Scott and I, we still had great relationships, but like there was like, well, we ain't losing to them, and then it was us against them, and then when some new guy would come in, like, I can't come in here jumping in our shit, you know what I mean?
Totally,
and that was I think hard for everybody. If looking back on it, if we'd have been smart, we'd have embraced all that stuff. But also too, we'd also been hit with the like, hey, they stole Kevin and Scott, so we got Mark Marrow. You know what I mean? And like, geez,
okay.
And then we all got stuck working with him. We're like, oh my God, like, geez, we're getting the short end of the stick on this. So you never knew, like, are we getting, like, what are we getting? And like, and then like, is this really going to work out? And just.
But it was real. I mean, people talk about, but I mean, it was a golden era for wrestling, for the fans, for the boys. But it was, like you said, it was the real deal. WCW versus WWE.
Yes.
And some of us didn't want to be on that side, but you still were by proxy,
Yeah, and even if you, like, for you, even if you were over there thinking, like, man, if I could just get out of here and go over there. But we didn't see it that way.
Yeah, you're like,
we saw it as this guy is WCW all the way, and something happened, he got fired. And now he's over here thinking he's just going to jump on our tail? Like, no. And there's so much emotion when you're in that heat of that battle and in that war, and I mentioned this. It's funny. I don't know if you and I have had this conversation per se, but I've had it a little bit with Steve. I had it big time with Rock a little while ago. I think I might have had a touch of it with Foley. It was so awesome. It was so hard and intense, and we were all so competitive, which is what made it so good. But you also didn't know how good you had it.
Yeah.
Like, how good it was. Like, I had no idea working with Austin every night how much fun. I knew it was fun, and I knew it was awesome, and I knew the buildings were sold out, and I knew it was crazy, and we were blowing the roof off it, and it was the greatest thing that we were doing. It was also Tuesday. Yeah. And we were going to do it again on Wednesday.
Yeah, that's
and then
right.
it was going to be Thursday, and you look at all those things and these magic moments that now you look back, like, and people are going like, this magic iconic thing or something. You sent me a text the other day about our Last Man Standing
14 years ago.
14 years.
Yeah.
But like we did that. I knew it was good.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the crap out of it. Now, I didn't know it would stand the test.
Yeah.
I didn't know we'd be talking about it 14 years later, you and I. I didn't know. And it was hard to even appreciate, like, God damn, Chris is so good and so much fun to work with.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, because it was that still. Like,
it was almost, like there was a real competition there, and it pissed you off. Like, I was, I knew how good you were, but it's like, I'm going to show this guy. Like,
I'll prove it to him.
I'm going to prove it to him.
Yeah.
I'll tear the freaking house
and
down,
same
man.
for me. And then, like, I talked to it to Rock. Rock and I were just talking about this at WrestleMania. We were talking about that exact rivalry and how intense we were with each other. Like, he and I got along, but we never got along.
Yeah.
Because our run was, like, I had the IC title, he had the IC title. Like, it just kept, like, we worked together for, like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. Yeah. But from Hunter Hearst Helmsley and Rocky Maivia all the way through to The Nation and DX, all the way through to everything till he left.
To The Rock and Triple H.
Yeah. And as competitive as could possibly be that whole way. And then he said the other day, like we were talking about at WrestleMania, he came out and we were at WrestleMania and he just came to me and he was like, we were talking for a while and he goes, oh, hey, by the way, I saw you're really in great shape. And he started talking about shape. I said, I got to be honest, Rock. I said, you tweet those things out like doing cardio, 4 a.m., time to go, no excuses, all that shit. I said, in my mind, I go, like, you know what? If he can do it, I got to get up at 4. How's that? And I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Like, still that same thing. And he said, it's so funny because when you tweet something, I feel the same way.
Yeah.
Like, we still have that, like, yeah, but you know, if Rock can do it, I'm going to, bastard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's awesome.
I almost think that, and Vince, I think that it was almost encouraged to have the guys have a little bit of, not heat with each other, but heat,
Absolutely. It's that fire in your belly and that competitiveness is good. Yeah, I looking back on it, they were definitely.
Yeah,
he said he encouraged.
Right.
He encouraged those.
I remember after about 3 months, I got called in there and he reamed me out. Man, I think I'd done something with China or whatever, and he was so mad at me. And he said, "You better go apologize to everybody in DX." I came up to you, I said, "Do I have heat?" And you were like, "Nuclear."
Yeah, I remember we sat in the boxes outside the office and talked for a long time.
Yeah,
but that was also probably the first real conversation I'd had with you.
That's right.
Right? Because we were all, I'll speak for us, we were all so guarded.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
You were an outsider, and we were also
And by myself, too. I had no friends when I came. I had no friends at all.
And you had this unbelievable hill to climb, and then we're looking at it and going like, hey, he's cutting promos on The Rock first day in?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Who's this guy think he
who's
is?
that
Yeah.
idea?
Right.
You know what I mean? And
Vince's idea, but
no, I
take
know.
the heat for it, yeah.
And a phenomenal one, right? But in our mind, we're like, hey, we were just trying to whip this kid's ass, and now he's in here in the top spot? No,
Yeah.
right? So... And you know, and we're guarded with it, and we're, you know, it just is what it is. But you don't know it at the time. But I think some of that was
looking back on it, yes,
to because I'll tell you what, it made for great TV,
and performances,
and it made for real performances,
matches.
and the emotion was real. And you know, I saw a clip the other day, and I think you and I spoke briefly about it. I just saw a clip that somebody put up. Because it was an anniversary date of the Monday Night Raw we did, where you came out and took the title, and and we did the fast count thing, and at the end of the show I took it back or whatever. And I remember at that time people saying like that was the perfect show, like the perfect Monday Night Raw, start to finish, and just the execution of it and all this stuff. And again, one of those things like, you know how good it is, but like there was no like...
It was just another night for us.
Yeah. But yet the competitiveness of it was like, screw Jericho on that. You know, like, and it was the greatest time to me for all those components to come together, and just guys that were competitive with that environment, and that environment bred that competitiveness and that just desire to outdo, sometimes to personal irritation, sometimes to, you know, it went too, like, you know, Shawn and Brett, it just went a step too far.
That's right. Yeah.
But that was magic. Magic right up to the point when they started to fight in the locker room, and then it was bad.
Yeah.
But like before that, oh my God, that storyline was...
And the matches that they had in the ring.
Yeah, and all that stuff because of that competitive nature. And I think there was a lot of that with us. And we were all trying to prove ourselves, especially when Kevin and Scott and all those top guys left. The guys that were here, it wasn't like we were all those things when those guys left. Austin was the ringmaster. You know, Rock was Rocky Maivia. They were chanting, die, Rocky. You know, I was Hunter Hearst Helmsley. Yes. The guy flitting around with the chicks from Playboy or whatever, you know. Like,
and which is not a bad gig.
No, that worked out, for a little bit. And then, but so we'd all, like, it was all scrape, scratch, and claw for your spot to get there, and we were all competitive with it of, you know, how to get there. And for me, like, when I was in DX and I saw Rock becoming the babyface behind Steve and all that stuff, and I was like, which I always gravitated towards being a heel anyways because I liked it better, but I'm like, now for me, I remember having this conversation with Billy and Dog because they were like, why are you breaking DX up, man?
Oh, right.
Let ride this thing into the ground. And I was like, is this what I want to do? Like, I see where those guys are. That's where I'm getting there. And there's two clogs in the top on the babyface side, so I'm getting there as a heel.
Right.
And I'm going to stand side by side with those three.
And I'm going to work with them both.
With those two, exactly. Yeah. And I'm going to be the guy, but on the other side. We need Darth Vader around this place.
Yes.
And that's where I wanted to go. But that competitiveness of even then, man, it was just like it was everything to us.
Yeah.
And to my point of the long-windedness of that is just, you didn't know how awesome it was. And to step back now 20 years later, like I've said, and I'll say it to you right now, thank you for that time in our lives, man, because it was special.
I agree, man.
And same with Steve and Rock and Mick and Taker and Shawn and all those guys, man. We had something so special we had no idea.
Because there were so many of us that were at the top of our game at that time.
Absolutely.
You know, there was legitimately probably 10 to 12 guys. You just mentioned 5 or 6 of them off the top of your head. You know, everybody was just at the top of our game. Like you said, it was a golden era, and also to the crowds. Like you mentioned when I beat you for the title. If you watch that back, when Earl counts 3, that crowd loses their minds.
I remember,
you don't see that anymore.
I remember that moment.
Yeah.
Like, that was one of those distinct... There's a few moments to me that stand out as some of the louder pops I've ever heard. One was the first time we'd ever let anybody touch China, and Steve Stunder. And I don't remember where we were. I think maybe Chicago. It was a house show, like a live event. And we all came back and were like, holy, like even Steve was like, oh my God, that was unbelievable. And the same thing that night when we did that title switch, I remember coming out of the ring going like, holy cow.
That's what it's all about.
That was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like, geez, I knew that was going to be good, but I didn't know it was going to be like that.
They were
man.
so
it was just a magic moment. Yeah.
And another great moment too. It's almost the match that doesn't exist anymore because of the circumstances that happened after. But me and Benoit against you and Steve,
absolutely,
in San Jose. I was there last night, and every time I go there, I'm like, this is where it happened. And I, like I said, we slowly gained a lot of respect for each other because we had a lot of great matches together.
Absolutely.
But that was the one where you tore your quad. I'm looking at the scar right now, and I remember thinking, this dude is one of the toughest dudes I've ever been in the ring with in my life, because you finished that match with a torn quad.
Yeah.
You came back in the ring to make the save with the sledgehammer. You took the walls on the. I mean, that was incredible, man.
I remember telling you, like, I mean, you said, "Oh my God, are you okay?" And I was like, "Absolutely not." Like, I mean, I couldn't even put weight on it. But I was like, whatever I've done, I don't think I'm gonna make it any worse. So I was like, put the walls on me. And when you did, I remember you turning me over and thinking, really bad decision. like holy.
Because I tried to even keep. I mean, you can't keep a leg. So I tried, but I remember saying,
"Try to protect me." Yeah, but
should we do this? You're like, do it, and I was like, oh man.
And then I was like you. I remember you putting me down on the table. I had to go back in to do the spot. I was like,
I don't know how you got back in.
Wow, yeah, like, oh my God, am I going to be able to get up to the ring? And I was like, I gotta go.
Yeah,
like, it didn't. Really, you know how that's so fast, but
right?
It seems like it's going slow, and I was just not like thinking about it. And then I remember rolling to the floor and just curling up in a fetal position.
Yeah,
just coming out and saying, "What'd you do?" And I said, "I tore my quad." And because I felt it when it went, man, I felt it just roll up to my hip.
Really?
Yeah. And I said, "I tore my quad. I think I tore my quad." And he said, "No way. You couldn't have. You couldn't have. You couldn't be walking on it." And I said, "Chris, I'm telling you." And he put his hand in there and was like, "Wow, you did."
This is Chris the trainer.
Yeah, he could feel the divot and stuff. Man, that's one of those things. Like for me, immediately once you tear your quad, you forget how good the match is. And I remember I didn't see it for a long time, and then. I don't know, I was in rehab one time or something, and I think the office had sent me a tape of it, VCR tape. And I remember watching it back and like getting into the match so much that I forgot at the end I tore my quad, and I went down. I was like, oh my God, I just hurt myself. Oh yeah, you know what I mean? Like I was so the match was so good. But to your point, 4 guys, top of their game, that just.
The crowd was so excited too. They wanted to see us win so bad, and when we did, and just because the match was so great, and that was one of those times that we deserved to sit there, the 4 of us with a beer, toasting, and we didn't get that because we had to go into the room, and you were. I mean, it's the worst thing seeing one of your brothers on the table after this great match. But it's like it's not great because you got hurt, and it's like, oh man, I just wish we would have had that moment.
Just pulls the rug out from under. Yeah, it was the greatest thing ever. And I when I watched it back, I remember thinking that same thing. Like, oh man, like since this will sound stupid, I felt bad. Watching it that day, I remember distinctly sitting in my room in Birmingham as at the Embassy Suites and still going through my rehab and watching it back, and I felt bad, like, oh man, I can't believe I robbed those guys of that feeling.
Yeah,
like that's because that's what you live for. Like
that's right. Go back that magic
like,
moment
of all that. You know what I mean? And I remember feeling bad, like, oh man, I can't, because in my mind I remember everybody coming in the room, and oh dude,
and Vince
and everybody
too,
being down and a bummer, and then like in my mind somehow I was like, that was all on me, like I killed the whole buzz.
Yeah, because we were like, I was like, oh, it's probably not like, what's a torn quad? Is that like 4 to 6? It's like, no, that's about 8 months.
So here's another thing. I remember coming up the ramp, and as we were getting the top of the ramp, thinking, I was doing the math in my head, 4 months rehab, and I was trying to think, can I be back for Mania? Could I be back for, like, that was my whole
for Mania, right?
Yeah, my whole mentality of like, could I? Because it was like May that I did it, but I was thinking like, man, could I don't think SummerSlam's an option, but I know I could probably come back for later. I didn't know how bad it was, and I didn't know Andrews was going to come to me and go like, yeah, you might never wrestle again.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I didn't know all that at the time. So in my mind, I was just thinking, okay, I tore my quad. They reattach it. I know there's a time frame to that, so they reattach that thing and they do the business. So I'm just trying to do the math. When I got there, that's why I never left Birmingham.
You just stayed there the whole time.
I lived in the embassy suites for 9 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just to rehab every day.
Andrews came, told me that, and then did the surgery and stuff, and he said, here's the thing. I don't know anybody's ever come back from this, from the level that you did it. I've never seen a contact sport athlete come back from this. So if you do, it's going to be awesome. And it's going to be easy. I put it back together. It's back together as good as it can go. But now it's on your rehab. And I said, wow, so what does that mean? And he said, if I were you, I'd stay with the best. So I was like,
that's me, yeah.
Done, right? Because Kevin Wilk was there, and he's the best guy in the world. So I was like, all right, so done. So I called the office and was like, I need to stay down here. Like they were saying I might never wrestle again. So I got to stay here to rehab. And they were like, done. Stay where you're at. I lived in the embassy suites for 9 months. I stayed there until, towards the end when I got better, I was flying and doing things here and there and stuff, but I stayed there till the very end. I remember packing my bags. The vignettes had been playing of my return. I remember packing my bags in the embassy suite and saying, like, all right, here we go.
Yeah. And you came back from that, and you had a few other injuries, but over you had so many classic matches, and not just to float your boat, but one of the greatest of all time, psychology-wise. Putting together matches. Did you feel like, when you get to the mid-2000s and everyone kind of left, Steve's gone, Rock is gone, I'm still there, but Shawn's gone. It's just basically you and a couple other guys. It was on your shoulders, man.
It started to get like when that herd started to thin out. Rock leaves.
Shawn is gone. Steve is gone.
Goes. You've got we have a pretty solid deck, right, of guys. But like I felt like for like not to say it's me.
Yeah.
Me, you, like the guys that we take.
Yeah.
Like, that was that little rung of guys that now we had left, and it was like I never felt like, oh boy, this is on me now. I felt like none of this is like on us. And like by that point I'd realized like, wow, there's some players here that are really, really good.
Yeah.
And here's our upper echelon, but yet we've lost that very upper.
Right, we've lost the 12 guys that we were talking about. We're down to 3 or 4.
Yeah, and and then we went through the run where we started to run through some of the guys that didn't necessarily pan out, or that were here for a bit and left for a bit, and or here and didn't really work out the best way possible. But there's a time frame in there where testament to how good the crew was that was here. I guess to say it this way, how when you get to the early 2000s, how deep of talent that roster became, that you had guys in the lower, upper, and middle of the card that were main event players.
Just I
sound stupid, on any given night in any arena around the world. Yeah. But truthfully, right? And then as those other guys started to leave, they were carrying that rung and that slot, and and still wasn't like business nosedived or anything
because
else.
Then we had the Cena, Orton, Batista guys that came through the OVW system. But let's talk about this. It's so funny. I always say like how busy you are, and kind of laugh at that you got into wrestling so you didn't have to have a real job, and now you have a real job
somehow. Yeah, Vince finagled me into doing it. I don't.
So how did you? You, for lack of a better word, you're going to be the guy that carries this company through the next 30, 40 years or whatever it may be. Organically, obviously, married Stephanie.
Yeah.
But how did that come into where Vince finally said, "Hey, man, you're the next king"?
It's funny for me that before I ever met Steph, I can look back on it and say I had that working relationship with Vince. Like when Russo left here, the day that Russo walked out, I went to Vince and I was like, "Wow, dude!"
It was a big blow to all of us except for Vince.
Yeah, and like so. There had been a period of time leading up to that where on certain days of the week, I don't remember, it was like Tuesdays, I think, or something, where Vince would have these phone meetings and had asked Shawn and I to call into them. And it would be Vince and Russo and me and Shawn on the phone. And we would all just throw around ideas. And then they write the show. Shawn and I would forget about it. They'd write the show, and they might call or something like that. But we were creatively working together. When Russo left, now Shawn had kind of stepped out, and Russo leaves. And I remember going to Vince the day it happened and saying, I can only imagine, because it wasn't a team, right? I can only imagine that he left. This isn't easy without people to bounce stuff off of, my phone's always on. Not saying I'm going to help. We've talked on the phone and done creative stuff before, but if you need it, my phone's always on. And I remember Vince taking a moment and being like, "It's really cool. Thank you. I might take you up on that." And I left. I went home. We were off for a couple of days, and I went home. And one day I got home from the gym, and my phone rang, and "Hey, pal," and he beat around the bush for a minute. And he was like, "Remember the other day you said if I need to bounce some stuff, if you had a minute?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you got a minute?" I'm like, "Absolutely." And that started a conversation with us creatively. And then he said, "Hey, come to the production meeting this week and stuff." And I started doing that. It got massive heat.
Yeah, you're right.
But I would always say to anybody, Vince would say, "Listen, you got some heat with some of the guys. I'm hearing rumblings of the meeting." And I said, "If you want me to come, I'll come. And you know what, Vince? If you want to tell those other guys, if they want to get up at 10 a.m. after we drove 5 hours, I love it. They sit with me. I don't care. I'm not. You ain't paying me to do this.
Yeah.
So if you want me to come because it's helpful to you, I'll come. Right." And that just started a creative relationship. That was long before I ever met Steph. So we already had that creative relationship going on. And then as time went on, it just continued. I don't know, however many years ago it was, he kept joking with me constantly. "When are you going to stop rolling around the ring, get a real job, do some real work?" And he was just teasing the water. And he would ask me all kinds of stuff about it. And then he would say, "Hey, you get home Tuesday night. Hey, Wednesday I got this thing going on in the office. You come in, just sit on that. I'd love to get your opinion on it. Some executives are going to be pitching some stuff. Let's you to hear it." I'd go in, sit in that. Right, and just little bits and pieces, and then
he knew he had his plan.
When I tore my bicep, I had to take 3 months off, and he right after I did it, I literally made these movies. I made 2 movies back to back for the company, which I wasn't supposed to do. I was supposed to make one, and Batista was supposed to do the other one, and Dave decided he wanted to do it. He left, and so Vince,
that.
Yeah, it was like
you get stuck.
He came over to my house, and he's like, "Hey, you got a second? I could stop by the house." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's not good, right?" So he comes over and he's like, "I need you to leave tomorrow to go do this movie for Dave." And I'm like, "Come on, I haven't even read the script, right?" I'm like, "Is it any good?" And he's like, "I don't know, I haven't read it." Right? So
how hard can it be?
Yeah, just go do it. It'll be great. Tell the director what you want to do. So I make these 2 movies back to back. While I'm there, I was having all these problems. I thought my neck ends up being my bicep. I tear my bicep. So now I got to take 3 months and not wrestle. And even the day I do it, I go have surgery, and he calls me. He's like, "Hey, I had this idea. Why don't you come back and shadow me at the office for the 3 months that you're off? You come in every day and you just do everything I do. You shadow me every day and all this stuff." And so that's what I do, right? And I go in there and I spend he was all setting me up. And then it was, "Why don't you start working? I'll take you off the road on Fridays, but you'll work in the office on Fridays, and then you'll go on the road on Saturday. Or, why don't you come in? You got 2 days off. Just come in on Thursday," right? And there was little things. And then even when I'll take you off the live events. Come in on Thursdays and Fridays, but take Wednesdays off because you need time to rest after TVs and all that stuff. And it was coming a half a day on Wednesdays, and then right. It's just sooner or later. I'm like, wait a minute, I got an office and all this. What am I doing?
Then wear the suit when you come over next time.
What am I doing? And he's like, "Hey, I need you to take over this." Like, what? Me?
Yeah.
I don't that. Just. So how he gets you there, right?
We're talking to Triple H, and coming up we'll hear about the NXT Performance Center, how it was all his idea, how it came together, how it was one of the first projects he took on as a WWE executive. And I'm also going to ask him about his haircut. Continuing on with Triple H here on Talk Is Jericho. Now, Trip, we're talking about your other job for the WWE in the executive offices. You've already started to implement a lot of really cool things and ideas. The Performance Center. I mean, that's pretty much your ideas.
So I was sitting in a meeting one day, executives, again, one of those ones where he asked me, come in, all the executives are going to give these their thoughts, like a 5-year plan on the company and where they're going to go with stuff, right? And they get to the end and everybody's giving their opinions and all the stuff, and Vince goes to me and he's, "What did you think?" And I said, from a business standpoint, I look at this, I'm just blown away by all the stuff that you guys do and how you implement them and how big this company is. And, because at that point I was still learning all that stuff about Jesus,
so much to learn.
Places, unbelievable. And I said, but heard all these pitches and all this stuff and all this money being spent and all these great plans and all this marketing stuff and all that stuff. And I haven't heard one thing that says where we're getting new talent from. Like, well, like, what's the future? Because the indies are drying up, dude, and I don't see it anyplace else. And he was like, "This is a good point." He kind of brushed it over, and then later he was like, "Talk to me some more about that." Right? So we started talking. I said, "I just don't. Like, what are we doing? Like, where are we getting that from? Like we're spending all this money, but like we're not. You know, the NFL's got college, and they've got all this. Like, it's a feeder system, man. And where's our feeder system? It was the world, but you shut them all down.
That's right. Yeah, there was OVW for a while, but then that died.
Well, so we had like these little tiny kind of things, and you know, we had Dory Funk at one point, kind of training a few guys that we selected here and there, right? And it was just like little kind of haphazard things, and then they had switched over to doing Tampa, and it seemed cool, but I had been down and seen Tampa, and it was small, and it was, you know, it was...
Yeah, kind of.
Like, even the TV show was like a 2-camera shoot, and it was just like... It was indies, and it was just... It was anybody else's wrestling school. And then when I came in full-time, so Vince was like, you know, take a few months, dig into a lot of different stuff and see what you want to take on. The first thing I came to him and said I want to take on is I would like to start something like called talent development, where we put more concentrated effort into figuring out where we want to go. And then, you know, once I started doing that, I started figuring out a plan, and then I could see that there was a lot of times where we had an opportunity to maybe get a guy who played in the NFL or who was a collegiate wrestler or something, but like, yeah, here, you want to try this wrestling thing out? We're not going to pay you hardly any money, and we got this crappy place that you can go work out at, and it's in the middle of nowhere, and maybe you'll make it, maybe you won't. Like, it's really not that intriguing, and I felt like you need a carrot, you know, and at the same point in time, like we talked about WCW, you know, there's a point in time where I went back in my head and I thought, if I was 20 years old today and I wanted to get here, everything I know today, what would I want to have to succeed? And then I went back and I tried to put it all in one place, right? And then put it in a place that looked awesome, that was in a great location, that was in a way that you could do it economically, and would make it so that if you were a kid that played, because the thought that we're going to get all these indie guys, they're just not out there. Yeah. So you're going to have to find what they did in the old days, is find 2 big bouncers at the club and make them the Road Warriors.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And if I want to get these guys from a D1 college that played in the NFL for a cup of coffee, you know, average length of time in the NFL is 3.5 years. Yes. They let go of 400 guys a year, right? In that group somewhere are prospects for what we do, and if you're going to get them, they've trained that way their whole life. They don't care if they're making big money. They don't care if the opportunity's there. I go like, hey, you can go to Orlando. It's nice. It's sunny. It's a great location. It's an easy in and out access point in this awesome facility that rivals what you had in college and what you maybe had in the NFL. You have coaches. You have all these things. They go like, I'll do that. You know what I mean? Because, like, yeah, I'm 21, but, like, really when you're that age, it's not about the money. It's like, yeah, I want this badass place to train in, and I'm going to try to do this. And if it's fun and it works out, and then, so you just kind of creating that system, you know, and then trying to put all, when we designed it, when I pitched the idea to Vince about creating a bigger, better location and why, he was like fully into the idea. And then he said, well, what would you do? So I said, let me think about it for a while. I went, kind of, what would I put in there? And then how much will that all cost?
Yeah, right.
And, you know, that's one thing I had to learn on my feet was, so I had to go put and have people help me. It's like I had to go put my ideas down, figure out how they were going to all come to be, how much they cost, then put like a business proposal together and go to them and say, here's the Performance Center, or I don't have a name for it yet, but here's what I want to do, and here's why I want to do all these things, here's what they cost, and here's how much money I'm going to need to do it. And I went through all of it, and then he was like, I had to forget, it was like very nervous for me because I wasn't like real skilled at doing that. And he like went through all this stuff, and then he was like, congratulations, let me know when it's going to open. And I was like,
and it's up to you, man.
But now I got to go do it.
Yeah.
So and try to do it for budget, and you know, it was learning under fire business, and very cool. But I'm really proud of the place from a, you know, how guys can learn the business. And then I said the jazz for me now, man, as much as it was blowing the roof off the place then, somebody asked last night in the panel, like, what do I prefer to do? To be honest, now when I have to work, it's kind of like the
when you have to wrestle.
Yeah, as much as I love the time I get in the ring, I'm like, the rest of it is like on a Monday night when I get done doing everything else, and at 7:45, I go like, oh my God, I'm in seg 1. Holy cow! Has anybody got a promo or like an idea what they want me to say? And it's a really almost like a burden in some way. And then, but the juice for me now is watching the Shield, or like watching Bray Wyatt going back into that system when he got pushed back down as Husky Harris, and then I will preface this with, I am in no way taking any credit for this, and I've told him this, and I've said it to everybody a million times. Nobody made Bray Wyatt but him. He created it, designed it, started it.
It was all his character,
right?
yeah.
Him, he deserves all the credit in the world. Some people helped along the way or helped set tables and things like that, but man, it's him. So I'm not trying to take any credit for it at all, but to help cultivate that out of his mind, see it start from a video that I got of like, what do you think of this? And be like, dude, that's kind of cool. Like, keep going down that road, and then watch it evolve and see it get there, and then put it together and put these guys with him. Holy cow! And then seeing it go, and then he's going to get the opportunity. Like, we just shot these rough shot vignettes, and then we showed them to Vince, like, to say, like, what do you think about this? And he was like, putting that one on the air tonight.
Oh, right.
You know?
Just the vignettes of him, like his family in the backyard, backwoods.
Yeah, right. And that one's going on the air tonight. Like, holy cow, here we go. Now we got to figure out what that entrance is, because he's just walking down the ramp, right? So now we come up with this idea of the lantern, like, to see all that stuff go to where it is, and now sit here today at SummerSlam and watch him go to the ring with you, or like, man, to me that's just it's living vicariously through them, but it's almost as cool as it was.
Yeah,
doing
it's
it
a
yourself.
Different world now.
It's a different thing, but man, it's so cool, and to see it come out of like the opportunity that they had and the things that they had out of that environment, the Performance Center and Full Sail and NXT, and what that meant to them, because the other key to the Performance Center is Full Sail University and NXT, because if you go there, it's just a shrunk down version of Raw and SmackDown. It's a multi, like, 6 camera shoot. It's the ramp is the same angle. It's a little smaller distance wise, but it's the same. The hard camera's on the other side, but there's the hard cameras, there's a jib, there's ground held handheld cameras. Everything is the same. They have to do their promos backstage, they have to do vignettes, everything is exactly the same. It's just a smaller version. And that one of the best compliments I ever got was Summer Rae, after she came out of there. We were in London. She started at WrestleMania. We were in London, and I said, "How you doing? Like, are you freaking out yet? Like, have you got over the freak out point?" She goes, "Funny you should ask. I had like an epiphany moment today." She said, I had been so nervous and so worked up, almost like ready to throw up every time I'm ready to go out there. And she said, I was standing on the ramp today while they were building the stuff, and she said, I'm watching them set things up, and I'm like, it's the exact same setup as Full Sail. And she said, like, I looked at it and was like, that's the same, just the building's bigger. And she said it was almost like this calming thing, like, I know how to do that. And that's the point, right?
Well, I mean, it's exciting because the roster, I mean, it's in good shape. We talked about that before. Like, there's a lot of good guys here, a lot of good guys down there. And
then for me to have guys like you come down there, or Cena or whoever come down there and be down there and work with those guys a little bit, or get in the ring with them, or talk to them, or come and do the show and watch their matches and go try this, try that, like that, to them.
It's invaluable. Man,
it's unbelievable the opportunity they have. I say it to them all the time. To those guys down there in the Performance Center, I said, we expect a lot of you, and we're tough on you, because I am giving you more than anybody in the history of this business. Everybody that's come before you has had less given to them than you. So if you don't succeed, it's on you. We expect more because we're giving you more.
That's a great point. Will Vince ever retire?
No. No. You know what? It's almost like when he's tired, he wants to go to the gym. It's almost like tired is the enemy, and it makes him want to do more. He works more now. He works longer hours. He sleeps less. I'm telling you, Ed, he'll leave the office at nighttime, and there's nobody there, but he's still in his office working. And then he goes downstairs. He'll text me at 1 in the morning, and not that I'm just finishing training too, but he's texting me at my house. He's finishing training, and then he doesn't sleep a lot. It is what he is, and I say it all the time. Like people are like, "Oh, he's being groomed to take over." No, it's only if he dies.
Yeah, that's right.
That is
the day he dies, you're taking over.
The day he dies, apparently, I take over unless I'm the one that killed him and I go to jail.
You'll be the next king, right? So you said you're like Prince Charles.
Yeah.
How was it cutting your hair?
It's funny. Vince said to me for years, he'd always joke about hair versus hair matches, and it just got to me one day, like I was, every day putting the stuff up and doing all the things, right?
Ponytail.
Yeah, and as much as I love the hair because it created movement in the ring and all the stuff, and you and I are marked for the heavy metal.
You're a rock guy, yeah.
Right, yeah. Man, I've been thinking about it for a while. Like, how much time would I save every day putting this? I never wear it down anymore because I'm never in the ring. I'm never on the road. I'm in the office every day. I can't be walking around there in my suit and tie with my hair all down. And, you know what I mean? Like I look like Michael Hayes.
With your gimmick bag around your waist.
My fanny pack. So, and finally I just bit the bullet and went and got it done. It was awesome, right? And now it's almost like an obsession now. Like I can't get it short enough.
Yeah.
Right. But so when I cut it, I had him cut the ponytail off, band it and cut the ponytail off, and I had it put in a frame with a thing on the bottom that said, "You always wanted to get it. Here you go." I gave it to Vince as a present. It's sitting in his office on the wall with my ponytail.
That's great. Favorite band of all time?
Probably Metallica. If I had to pick one, obviously everybody thinks I'll say Motorhead on that, and obviously huge.
Yeah.
For me, for my character, that was the thing when they were trying to create my new song back years ago. I kept saying, "Can it sound more like Motorhead?" I wanted that aggressive sound, and then they said, "Can we just get Motorhead to do it?" And I was like, "That'd be awesome!" Like,
Even
I
better.
didn't know that was an option. But yeah, Metallica probably for me. It's always my go back to music. They're just.
And you got to go to the tuning room that one time where they practiced.
Yeah, that was really cool.
That.
Yeah. And we just happened to come backstage, and Hetfield invited us to come backstage while they were playing that on that tour. They were playing a lot of songs they hadn't played for a long time, so they were going in it was amazing to
a little room about this size, a little dressing room.
Yeah,
right?
and sit there and watch them play and be like, "That's not how it goes." You know what I mean? And then they'd have to listen to them, like, "Oh yeah," like songs that you think like you've listened to a million times, they might not have listened to. Since
that's right. It.
Yeah, it's crazy to think of it. Another cool thing is they. They dig what we do, I think, and in some ways, and then in working with us. So when I used For Whom the Bell Tolls at WrestleMania that one year, and so I'd had that mask, and I had
that Tom Savini
made, right? And obviously it's a big deal, very expensive. So I had a second one made, and I brought it to. We went to the Big Four concert in New York, and I brought it and gave to Hetfield as a gift.
Oh, cool!
Which he was like, "Oh my God, that's so cool!" And then kind of stayed in touch with their road guys, and he sent me a photo of it, and it's in their rehearsal room at whatever they is a Q Prime.
Yeah, Q Prime Management.
They have their they have like a
in the Presidio in San Francisco.
Oh, is that where it is? Okay, whatever. But I guess there's they have like a big rehearsal room.
Yes,
they have all these gimmicks and everything on the wall, and the guy sent me a photo of it in a case.
Oh, that's cool.
On the thing, and he said, he goes, "You don't know how many celebrities have come in here to talk to these guys in their rehearsal room and put that on," which is cool to me. Just like that they have something of mine.
Yeah,
that they have out is like mind-boggling to me.
We did that tour with them last year in Australia,
which had to be unbelievable.
Oh, dude, it was so cool.
It's the coolest thing for you. I mean,
completely
like, music-wise. Now you're like hanging with those guys.
So, I was like, "You want to go to a show tonight?" I'm like, "Yeah." And we go to this stupid little punk club with this crappy little band. I'm hanging with Lars, and we got a gig tomorrow in Perth, Australia.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool, man. But
me and Lars,
it's pretty cool to have you here in Perth, Australia.
You know what was funny too. Like, because of doing the music and stuff, I got tight with Lemmy. And I talked to him fairly regularly and got very tight with Lemmy, which was mind-boggling to me. And then the first time I met Metallica, very first time I met Hetfield, when we went to backstage with them in the practice room, that's all he wanted to ask me about was Lem.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like they all kept bringing up Lem to me and talking about Lem, and I was like, it's so funny to me everybody is a mark for something.
Yes.
Right?
That's
And, like,
right.
those guys are marked for Lem. Like, I watched Slash come out in L.A. one time in this building, and Lem was, he'd come see me work, and he'd just go to the ring, and he'd watch my match, and then go sit in the limo and wait for me to come talk to him after. And I went out to talk to him after, and Slash comes out, and Slash wanted to know if Lem would take a picture with his son. And, like, Slash was like a little kid talking to Lemmy, like, sorry to bother you, Lem. Yes, anyway, and he was like, seemed all nervous, and I'm thinking, like, holy crap, like, it's just, like, surreal to me that he's starstruck by Lem, and, like, it's just funny. Everybody's a mark.
Let's just say, no matter how old we get, you're still a fan.
Matter.
Like, when Ozzy showed up here, it was like, oh my God, Ozzy's here.
It's another thing I've gotten to do, because this job will let you do the coolest things in the world. One of my treasured things I have is at home. I have a picture, and it's me flexing with both titles on, because I had done a
for Ozfest.
For Ozfest, and Ozzy's biting my bicep. And to me, it's just the coolest picture, one of the coolest pictures I have, because I've, my whole life just idolized.
That's right, Ozzy,
yeah, his music meant so much from Sabbath to him, and just.
And then you get to work with him.
Yeah.
Hard to choose just one, but give me your favorite match or a couple of your favorite matches that stand out to you.
Hard to choose one, There's a ton of them that mean a lot to me. Obviously, like the SummerSlam one when Shawn came back. And
it was great.
Because it meant so much to him to be able to come back and to do it and not know what he had and then have it turn out so good. There's one that always sticks out to me, though, because it was like a turning point for me, is I had a street fight at Rumble in 2000 with Mick Foley. That was one of those ones where, like, the Rumble was big that year, but I had won the title, and I wasn't a top guy yet, but I had the title, and I was trying to be the top guy, and they were trying to make me the top guy. And Mick wasn't necessarily. He'd done the stuff with Taker, but he was, he was trying to do the same thing. And we had an opportunity to we were the main event at the Rumble, outside of the actual Rumble match. And it was like one of those matches where I remember getting done the match, thinking it was great, and then kind of like out of the weeks coming out of that feeling like everybody's attitude towards me changed. You know what I mean? So it's like one of those.
It put you to the next level.
Yeah, it's like a turning point match to me, and and Mick has said the same to me. Like, he felt that way too. A lot of thanks to him and doing it with me, and that's another thing. Is like we all grew so much together. Like, I had great rivalries with Mick, and we both grew into something more than that. Same with me and Rock, and like it's just so many things that you look back on, and then there's the ones you forget about even, and you look back and go, oh, I forgot. That was awesome.
The network, you forget all the stuff that's on there. People remind you, remember when you did this, this, and this? You're like, no.
Yeah. And then to come out of ones where, like, last year, to work with Daniel and that had to be a part of that moment for him, and it was really cool. It's just a lot of stuff that, are cool matches. It's hard to put your finger on.
It is.
It's just, man, I can't say how, everybody, this will kill my image off somewhat, but like, I can't say how lucky I was for all the guys that I had to work with.
That's a great point.
Right? I look at my career and I go like, wow, I got here and I had Brett and Razor and Kid and Shawn and all these guys that I worked little programs with, whether, on the road, not necessarily on TV. And then it transitioned, and then I got to a different thing. And then, I was surrounded by all these guys in DX. And then once you get past that and start to get into the other stuff, it's like you and Austin and Rock. And like when you start to put together the guys that we all had to work with, it's like wow, like, it just... I could have sucked and done that. You know what I mean? Like, it's you start to think like, geez, it was that, and that was my point earlier about how lucky we all were. He's like, you don't realize it at the time, like it's just like doing it, but when you look back, you go, it's like a who's who of awesomeness in the business, right? And we
Hall of Fame cavalcade
all the way around,
of all the guys,
all the way around, and so man, it's just. I look back on that and I'm so thankful that I had all those guys around. Maybe didn't think about it that way at the time, or but like now I look at it and go like, man, just so lucky, such in the right place, right time for all of it. It's just awesome.
Dude, thank you so much, man. This has been great. Getting a chance to sit down and chat.
Yeah, it's funny because we don't really get a chance to talk that much, and you're always doing business and stuff, and I feel like we could talk for a day.
That's why I love doing this, because I just get a chance to talk to my friends. How often do you get a chance to talk for an hour and a half? It's cool,
awesome.
man. So
thank you very much.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it, man.